Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 610, Trope Talk, Lampshading. And in case you don't know, we're talking about Red, and that is her YouTube channel of Overly Sarcastic Productions, which does not seem overly sarcastic at all. She just talks about stuff she finds on tvtropes.org, and we're supposed to take her seriously at times, and then she ruins it the last 5 minutes of her video, and we all have a good laugh. So that's how it goes. You guys know the topic of lampshading. Lampshading is the concept of something dumb or inconsistent with the story or lore in a book is then over or covered over with some other dumb explanation. And there's lots of examples of that. It could be anything. It could be logic, plot related. It could be a joke. Look at video games. We could look crazy with Mass Effect and Alpha Protocol. I think that my favorite one is the favorite part of Mass Effect 2 is Tali's recruitment and her loyalty mission, where you have this wonderful setup for drama where Tali is going to protect her dad's honor and prove her innocence. And there's all this courtroom scene, and you can just bluster your way through the whole damn thing, and no one gives a shit, because one thing, they want you to do what Tali wants you to do, which is protect her father's honor and put the blame on her. But you're awesome because you're Commander Shepard, so you have the ability to not show any evidence and just say, yeah, we didn't find anything, shut the hell up, Tali's awesome, she saved the Citadel, shut the hell up. And it's like, what? That's not evidence. And you get away with it. So it's, if they just had that logical connection where it's like, yeah, here's the evidence, and not only that, you can destroy some evidence so that you could protect Tali as well as her dad. So, but they didn't do that. It was just, we're going to be a renegade or a paragon and use the chat option to win the day, which is stupid. So that is a plot related, or I guess a subplot related form of lampshading, which is silly. There's another one I could think of from, I don't know if you guys ever watched The West Wing back in the day, but there's a scene where the president is reading a book, and he's about to give a speech. And I can't remember the exact lines, but some guy comes up and says, hey, Mr. President, are you ready to go? He's like, yeah. Well, you don't have to read a book. You could just go up there and give your speech. You're the president. He's like, yeah, but it's more dramatic this way. So it's like, he's just reading the book for the sake of creating a scene so someone can come up to him and ask him, what is he doing? Because there's no scene otherwise, unless they would have cut straight to President Bartlett giving a speech. So it's not a plot hole. It's just a dumb filler that, for the sake of being cute or whatever the director had in mind, is just a scene to lampshade the fact that this scene is dumb and wasting your time. So it's used for anything. It's used for any kind of cover up in a blemish in a story, usually plot related though. Okay.
Seems to be the standard of bad writing in the past decade.
Yeah, it's comedy. Comedy does this all the time, but you understand it because it's supposed to be funny. So,
I honestly didn't know that. I think I've heard the word at some point, but I've never known the meaning of it. And it explains a lot, because I always thought gaslighting doesn't properly apply in these cases. This stupid thing happens, and then we just ignore it. That works for comedy, you're right.
Yeah, and that's
for awkward humor and such.
Yeah, when someone does something stupid and you're like, why'd you do that? Well, back in the day when I was young, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what? That's retarded. Why would that's why you get stupid shows where the characters are retarded and they have this backstory or some dumb explanation why they're acting like a jerk or why they're putting glue on someone's pants or something you would not expect. And I guess that's funny. It's a form of slapstick, I suppose. But it comes down as childish antics that you see grown-ups do on all kinds of shows. So
the Pendleton Ward humor does this a lot.
Sure.
But in other instances, I think since we talked so much about this pseudo-Norse God of War game, I think that's an example where we see these race swap things happening that I think would fall under lampshading, although they're not shining a spotlight on it at this point anymore.
Oh no, they don't even.
When before
explain
they made a
lampshade is an actual attempt to cover up. Like that's the thing. Whenever I had like problems back in the day on the BioWare social network, I would say, these are huge plot holes. And it's like, don't worry, in the future they're going to explain that away in Mass Effect 3 or whatever. It's like, no, they're not. Why would they bother? There's no point. Whereas with Ragnarok, it's like, let's have black people. It's like, why? Who cares? We just do. There's no reason.
It's this improbable thing that would cause a reaction from people that have never seen such humans.
Yeah.
Would then go like, why are you doing it? Why? Like, why are you black?
It's one thing to have like the light elves and the dark elves and go, what's that? That's a light elf and they're attacking us or whatever. Because it's part of Norse. And it's like, oh, okay, that's a thing no one knows, and you should explain who they are or who Freya is or who Fenrir is, like, just because that's part of basic Norse.
Yeah, when it's more obvious, I think the more obvious instance is the thing in Vikings, the television series, where they had this black woman Jarl all of a sudden.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've mentioned this a couple times, and the explanation is, and there's a real figure for this, and they just made the guy into a black woman, and then said, "Oh yeah, my husband, he found me in Egypt, where I am part of a royal bloodline." No, you're not. That's not even how Egypt works.
It's not Saudi Arabia, sir. This is Egypt.
Even in Saudi Arabia, there are no black Africans.
Well, they would have multiple.
They took black Africans as slaves.
Yeah.
But there are none alive today because they didn't reproduce, because they cut off all their balls off.
Yeah, you'd have to look at the dynasties of who was doing what and who was in charge at what time. That would be like so specific. It'd be like, oh, it's one of the off families. Like, no, it was one king, one pharaoh at the time.
Yeah, Nubia has ruled Egypt for some time, but it wasn't very long.
Right.
Noobs.
They built a lot more pyramids than the Egyptians, though. They were much smaller as well, and steeper, and lots of obelisks. Like the Nubians, why are the black African supremacists, or black American supremacists, so obsessed with being Egyptians? They could just look at Nubia.
Us kings.
Yeah, but they could look at Nubia, and there they'd have the actual black Africans that built pyramids.
Yeah, well, the ideas of lampshading. I mean, if we're going back to the story of the plot, the topic at hand, the idea of lampshading is to keep the story going by having a quick explanation, so that everything makes sense, at least to the character trying to explain it. Like when you have Doc Brown explaining something, and instead of having Marty just cease to exist because he changed the timeline, he starts to disappear. Because it has to be dramatic, and we have to have the opportunity for the characters to grow and change and alter things without dying.
And avoid the doom.
Well, yeah.
Fate.
Well, when you have like magic and fantasy and time travel and all these other weird things, and in order for the audience to go, okay, I can wrap my brain around this now, you can't just snap your fingers and everything just snaps back to where it came from. It has to be like, oh, this gradual change of the timeline, or like you see that in Star Trek as well. It's like, what is that? It's a temporal incursion. It's some weird thing that
Tachyon beam.
There's some radiation that you have to go into the field, and then you could interact with it, but it's still there until you do something. And there's a time bomb. You have to go in there before it blows up. Lots of stuff like that.
Would the Birgir sacrifice in Ragnarok count as this?
I don't know what that was. I have no idea.
Because this guy that I don't know who he is, I don't even know his name, gets up, super epic, like perfectly shot, and then jumps out of the floating boat onto the enemies and sacrifices himself, and like, okay, that happened.
Yeah, he stopped two
Who's that?
He stopped two drag. If you see the scene, he's speaking in whatever language that they speak. I have no idea what that's called. He has a sword. He jumps off the flying boat. We're talking like, I don't know, 2 kilometers in the air up. There's dragons attacking the boat. They're flying. He attacks one dragon and somehow he commandeers
to melee
that
range.
and attacks the other dragon. He's like attacking dragons with dragons. I'm like, how the hell is this guy doing any of this? He falls, and he's actually in the epilogue. You could find him.
That's another bit. But just the sacrificial scene, self-sacrifice, heroic self-sacrifice is. Did anybody even take notice of that? It's one of these comical scenes. It's a comical scene.
There's all kinds of shit like that in stories.
It evokes this. Oh no, Birgir! Who?
Yeah, who is this guy?
It's exactly like the scene in the beginning where Fenrir dies, and it's like, oh, he has a dog that he cares about. Am I supposed to be sad now? I don't know this dog. Oh, it's Fenrir. Is that supposed to be subversive? Right. Yes, it is, but I think it's the same trick. I think it's just the same trick, the same trope. Oh, there's this character that you don't know just dies, and now you must be sad or have emotions. Like, who is that again?
That's a whole other problem. That's I wouldn't say it's related to lampshading. Just the fact that Birgir fell to such a great height. And his explanation is, well, I rolled. That was his explanation. He rolled.
Yeah, that's okay. That's past that. That's a whole other issue.
Yeah.
The main issue is this whole something epic is just happening, and why, who, right. What? That is immersion breaking.
Right.
And I think that's the key part of lampshading, that it is immersion breaking.
It's when your brain goes, that doesn't make sense. But as I said, the fans in the BioWare forums will say, well, there's an explanation. It's like, that's a dumb explanation. It makes no sense.
Yeah. I think you can make, in the case of Biggie, it's just bad storytelling, mainly.
Oh, yeah.
If you establish him, it's like Fenrir. If you establish these characters properly before, it works. But they just didn't do that.
A lampshade is effectively the writer going, I screwed up. I gotta address this because even I am angry at myself, but I don't want to go back and delete anything. So I have to sort of build a bridge over my painted myself into the corners. I have to build a bridge into the next room to keep the story going. So it's nice they try, but I've never seen a good lampshade because you know it's basically trying to pull another rug over your eyes when you already have another rug over your eyes. But it's a clear rug. I can see you doing it. I can see you throwing the rug on my face again.
So. I'm trying to think of examples. And the next thing that comes to mind is the child in Mass Effect 3, but I don't think that works. That as either.
For video games, it's a bit tough because everything is logic. So any cause effect that doesn't make sense, like especially Deus Ex's ending, like the original Deus Ex Mankind, Human Revolution, they choose, like they have to choose something, right? They have to choose an ending.
Wait, which game are you talking about now?
The one from
the original Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Yeah. You have 4 endings to choose from, right? And the last...
Okay, that's not the original Deus Ex.
Not the original, no. You play as Adam Jensen. And you choose the ultimate, not narcissistic, but just ultimate, like, nihilistic, kill everyone, blow everything up. And they went with that in the second game. And for some reason...
That's the canon.
Yes. And for some reason, Adam Jensen is still alive, even though he's at the bottom of the ocean with a bomb going off. And everyone's dead. He has this... Suddenly, he's just normal Adam Jensen again. He's no longer nihilistic and giving platitudes about, keeping everyone's making their own freedom of choice, even though that effectively dooms humanity.
I mean, that's essentially like the same as like the original Deus Ex 2, where all the endings happen. Where J.C. Denton becomes an AI. He also blows up the internet, and he gives power to the Illuminati.
Isn't blowing up the internet the dumbest thing you can do as an AI?
It is dumb because, basically, like what they try to explain the OG Deus Ex is that like everything is connected to Area 51, which is like this super network of internet and electricity, And all right, so if this one place shuts down, then the entire world shuts down. Like all the electric grid shuts down. It's like, can't they
Except
just turn
Texas.
it back with diesel engines?
Oh, God.
That's so stupid.
I think that's no longer a lampshade. That's just dumb writing. Yeah.
I think
It's just
that's that's the for Human Revolution. They chose we need a conflict somehow, so we choose the horrible ending.
I don't know.
But there's also the theory that like the Adam Jensen you play in the Mankind Divided is actually just a clone.
Really?
Maybe it's all a dream and it's all in the Matrix.
Oh.
Well,
You're all in the dream of
I think
JC
there's like
Denton.
a storage where you see like a lot of hibernated bodies, and you can see like Adam Jensen there. But I don't know if like it's just lazily the same model pasted there, or there are like some other things. Because like there's also a hint that like there's the hologram woman who was like newscast. Like
All
she
Adam
doesn't
Jensen's
recognize
were-
Adam.
That means all Adam Jensens were always clones of the guy in the tube.
Well, technically, Adam Jensen is supposed to be like the original body that like they cloned JC Denton from. So yes, he's the blueprint.
This new guy in the new game is the actual originator of the guy from the game that you actually liked. God, I hate
It's
that.
Fate Zero all over again.
I hate when people do that, when writers do that.
All right. Let's start the video finally.
Oh, we have a video.
Yeah, I know.
When you think about it, the concept of a fourth wall is pretty interesting.
Oh,
An invisible
okay.
barrier that separates the canon of a story from the world of the audience, maintained predominantly by the consensus agreement among the actors to pretend that the audience doesn't exist. Back in ye olde Greek tragedy days, stories were almost exclusively plays performed for live audiences on a stage, where the chorus played a liminal role and would actively address the audience directly. But the actors maintained the fourth wall and would pretend like they weren't standing on a stage in front of hundreds of people, all judging their every move. Stage plays have always had this slightly weird relationship with the fourth wall, because when you're up on stage, even if you're immersed in the story
Here's the cursor. So, that chorus is mainly there to explain certain events to the audience so that nobody gets lost. So it's reiterated in some form. That's what that's for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of.
It's less of a fourth wall break. It's more of a narrator.
Yeah, I don't know where she's going with. Like, why are we starting with fourth wall breaks? I don't get.
Yeah, it was confusing to me as well.
Because the lampshade is immersion breaking, and then an immersion break and the fourth wall break, they have parallels.
Okay,
they have things
I mean,
in common.
You could talk about gameplay and story segregation in games. That makes some sense. And I know you could speak. We could both speak to Ragnarok with all the silly runes on climbable walls to make it easier for the player to see where to climb.
Oh God!
That's
Put that there.
That's the entire game. But a very similar thing happens to, I think, Breath of the Wild. You have, like, Link can climb and jump and whatever up walls, but then there's, like, the certain climbable ledges that are marked with, like, a certain icon on the map, so that when you get to one of those ledges, like, you can be prompted to press a button to initiate the, the animation or whatever you want to call it. Like, that is like a lampshade. That is like saying, okay, Link can climb, but here's one he has to do it this way. And we have that animation that plays. So he could do that technically anywhere except for where he has to go for certain areas. And you could do that with gameplay, with having Castlevania or Metroidvania style mechanics where it's like you need a double jump, where it's like, okay, you just can't climb that high. Or when Ezio gets his hook blade or whatever bullshit that was, that extra half a foot of hooking, so he could jump a little bit higher and grab a little bit taller. So stuff like that to make the game work. It's kind of silly. You could just use a rope with a rock. It'll be just as good. But so there's lots of mechanics in games that give that sort of look, and it streamlines it. It makes it simple for the player to understand. That's why you can forgive some of that stuff in Ragnarok, because it's like, okay, there's runes. I guess the player wants to be dummy and just, okay, I'll climb this because it's easy to see, without having to actually think about, oh, that's an object. Can I actually interact with that? Oh, I can, like you can in Assassin's Creed. So Parkour is not the strength of some games, unfortunately. Anyway.
Really committed to the bit, the audience is there. You can see them, hear them, and they're the entire reason you're performing in the first place. And ironically, one of the only ways the audience can get fully invested in the story is if the performers don't acknowledge that they're there. The world on stage is at its most immersive when it truly feels like its own world, and if the actors turn out to look straight at a member of the audience and say, "Man, this is a pretty crazy story, right?" it jars the audience into acknowledging that this is a story, and more importantly, one that they are excluded from. It might seem a bit contradictory, but an audience can immerse themselves more fully in a story if the story maintains the fourth wall and never admits they're there. In a sense, that gives the audience the freedom to choose how they want to immerse themselves in the story. Are they going to relate?
She said something actually correct.
You have a subjective reaction to the whenever the actors address the audience. It's like, okay, and then you choose to react. It's like, yeah, okay.
Well, that's less of a choice. That's your reaction. Then is a reaction, because either it annoys you that there's a fourth wall break, or you find it funny. And when it's done badly, it's just annoying and immersion breaking and not funny.
It reminds me of a joke by Norm Macdonald where he's talking to Letterman. He's like, I used to take my mom to these stage productions. There's some guy on a desk, and there's no stuff on the desk, but the guy is pretending there's a phone. So he's holding nothing to his ear, like he's answering a phone. He's like, what the hell's this? This sucks. I'd rather watch a movie where they have all the props and all the set design and all that crap. So it's like, you're going to a stage production. You know it's a stage. It doesn't really matter how interactive the actors are. If you know that there's going to be blood splatter at Evil Dead, you guys know the first few rows get splattered by blood eventually in the story. So you go to that for those kinds of things. You expect that already. It's not he's addressing all the children in the audience. Oh my God. I was not expecting that. I hate this thing, or now I like it more. It's like, okay, it's a stage production. You obviously have not gone to many. This is your big selling point, or your big sticking point about I like or dislike the stage. And why are we talking about the fourth wall? I don't know.
I think it's just because of immersion breaking.
I hope.
That is the one thing that lampshading and fourth wall breaking have in common.
You could say that about plot holes. You could say about anything that's bad. But
she could have left it at like 5 seconds with the speed that she's talking. That like, well, it's kind of like fourth wall break, but it's not that, not at all. And then like leave it at that, and then just like move on to actually explain lampshading, because like this is just overly confusing the topic itself.
Yeah,
but she has to get her 16 minutes.
Yeah.
What do you get after 60 minutes? Like, do you get like even more monetization money?
I don't know.
The thing is,
there were times when you had to get certain times, but I think those were
like sure, yeah,
20
but like,
minutes.
Isn't this a new video?
Who knows? I don't know what you're trying to get at. Yeah.
Wrongly to one of the characters? Are they going to imagine they're an invisible observer moving among the crowd? Are they going to stay firmly planted behind the fourth wall, watching from a fully externalized view? As soon as the story does point out the audience exists, it also reminds them of where they are, firmly on the outside looking in.
Okay, again, it all depends on the set and stage design. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Medieval Nights, or Medieval Times, rather, where they have a giant courtyard where a bunch of horses joust and fight with knights. You're in the stands, and they come into your booth. They come into the stands and walk around, and there's maids, and they serve you food, and they take away all your utensils, and it's interactive. So you're kind of like, you feel like you're part of it, and you're cheering for your knight, and sometimes they die and lose and whatever. So that's, again, what you expect going into it. It's not like, oh my God, they're going to put you into the scene, and you're going to be running around. It's going to be virtual. And you're like, no one's expecting.
No, you're still a passive participant.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not touching. Like, you can, but they're not going to be. It's not part of the show. So,
people are usually respectful of that to not interfere negatively.
Yeah, it's a dinner and a movie, or a dinner and a show, or a dinner and whatever.
Yeah. But when you watch a movie, series, a film, a theatrical play, or play a game, then you are as she describes here, you are on the outside. You only interact through the characters if that is a possibility. But the things internally must remain consistent. They must make sense.
Yes, all of which have nothing to do so far with lampshading, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
It tells the audience have in this story. And that means if the audience was getting invested in some other way, that can actually jar them. Of course, this can be used for interesting effect, but for the most part, the story needs to stay separate from its audience or the impact is diminished.
Why?
The fourth wall was a vital narrative conceit to maintain because for a very long time, it was the only thing separating the world of the story from the audience. In the grand scheme of things, for the vast majority of human history, storytellers and performers have by necessity existed in the same...
She thinks it's a literal wall.
I don't know. When she says things like, for a long time it has been the only thing separating the audience from the thing, and what other things are there? That's so.
Oh god,
if you phrase it like that, you imply there are other
things. The fourth wall is
things.
actually just the state border.
Well, this is like
the state line.
When you look at other stage performances like David Copperfield, where he teleports and he appears like in the audience, like. Where's the fourth wall there? I think he interacts with people. He grabs their hand. He brings them on stage. They're part of the show at times. I don't know what she's getting at, and I don't know why she's still talking about this topic.
Audiences, without the ability to transmit, record. The only way to experience performance art was to sit in front of a stage and watch people do it live. It wasn't until we got the moving picture, followed by the radio and later the television, that storytellers became physically walled off from their audiences. Performers in this new paradigm would initially act to an audience that consisted only of their tech crew and an optional studio audience. And
physically walled off? What the hell are you talking about?
Television is
it's just the same. It's just your seat. It's just in another place, but you're still watching the same thing.
When books were released, you no longer had to listen to that person in the room. Instead, you could read it out loud yourself in your room. The thoughts of a person. Like, how much more depth is she gonna go with this?
When Aristotle died, we could never hear his words, but then someone invented the printing press. Like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
Someone wrote down.
The audience would see their art long after the fact, cut together, edited, and scored for cinema or TV.
Yes, thank you.
Like a book.
The wall was no longer an invisible barrier maintained by the performers. It was a physical screen that literally separated the story from the audience. For the first time in history, actors and their audiences had no way of directly communicating. And this took some getting used to. In the last few years, a lot of aspects of modern communication have gone from in-person to virtual, and plenty of people will tell you how jarring it is to go from a crowded classroom or...
Oh god, this is... See, this is
this video?
What is going on?
See, this is not autism. This is just woman rambling.
This is female
making
brain.
Random connections with things. It's not as extreme as Maggie Mayfish, but bloody hell, it's bordering on that. It's touching the event horizon of Maggie Mayfish.
This is like I'm in a clothing shop as a woman. I'm like, I see this blouse. I see that blouse. I want to wear that blouse, but I can't wear that one because it looks stupid. But I'm going to wear the scarf first, and then I'll try that. It's like, dude, buy your damn clothes. Shut the hell up. Let's go. You're getting this is taking so long to get where we need to go. What is she doing?
This is why I take mansplaining any day over womansplaining. We need more male
is
teachers
just man
again.
Explaining.
How did we get to Skype calls? Like, what is this shit?
In 2020, communication has changed
it's like a
forever.
physical wall. Between you and the people you talk, there's a physical wall.
You mean the telephone and
Stories
the radio? Wow.
Have changed.
Stories are changing.
The actors can't directly talk to the people, to the audience anymore. The way that the actors talk to the audience when breaking the fourth wall is the exact same thing that happens when in a video game or movie the actor turns to the camera and talks to you, because you can't talk back anyway. If you do, you're usually making a mess of everything and everybody hates you. So you don't do it.
I was going to do an MGS4 joke, but I think Whisp just made me lose my memory. That's okay. Anyway.
What?
I'm old.
Just get a Rubik's Cube.
Oh.
This is good, isn't it?
Okay, anyway.
Or a meeting full of people to just you and a screen, even if there are people on that screen. Speaking as someone who performs to a microphone for a living, it is a learned skill to get yourself in that headspace where you can talk like you're talking to someone even if there's nobody there.
No, darling.
That's not a skill.
You sit down.
It's so basic.
You just sit down and you're talking. That's all you do. You put the mic as close as possible to your mouth. You're done.
It's just thinking out loud.
It's like you have a phone near your head, but instead of near your head, it's a mic. It's the same thing.
No, it's like going over things in your head where you explain things or analyze things in your head. But instead you move your mouth and your tongue. You do that anyway when you think, but that's details. But then you also press air through it so that the words come out and are not just in your head.
Oh my god, are you reading the script of this video?
Whoa. She's going to start talking about her pets now. And when I'm performing, I sometimes have a pet near my foot and I have to pause and then I play with my pet. It makes me feel good. And I'm like, oh my God, are you just like rambling again to a new topic? Can we stop? So 3 minutes, introduce nothing. Here we go.
Trying to tell me that talking
actors have to actively enforce. It just passively exists as a byproduct of the medium. If it's not a live stage performance, the fourth wall is now built into it.
What?
And that means when stories want to get cute with it, they need to be a little creative. In a stage show, if you want to break the fourth wall, you just pick an audience member to make eye contact with and address directly. But if it's just you and the camera, things can get a little complicated.
No. Look, Red. Not looking at the camera is something that is actively taught to film actors because it's a natural thing to do, to look at the thing. People have to train themselves to not go into that reflex, which then if you have things like what did that a lot Ferris Bueller, House of Cards,
sure,
where the main character then actively looks at the camera and tells you something. I think Clarissa did that as well. That's when the actor who had to train him or herself to not look at the camera now has to force him or herself to do look at the camera. Because when the actor looks directly into the camera, in 99% of cases, it is immersion breaking, it is fourth wall breaking. Because now the character in this fictional world is addressing you, the invisible friend, so to say.
Right. We're going technically from first person or from third person to first, and that you could consider it a fourth wall break, but addressing the audience is just addressing the audience. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. You're effectively becoming a narrator in a monologue. So that's fine. We've seen that all the time. It's when you have those bizarre addresses where imagine if in House of Cards none of the characters did that, and all of a sudden the last part of the episode they look at the camera and they smirk and they know they're not.
Oh, you mean like She-Hulk?
I guess, I don't know. Like that would be fourth wall breaking because they've never done it before. She's not looking at anyone specific in the story, and we know she's looking at the audience. And it happens in I said this before with Eddie Murphy in Trading Places. He's being taught about commodities, and he's talking about milk and oranges or whatever, and gold bullion. And he's like, well, this is gold bullion, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, and he looks at the camera like, huh. He just has a deadpan look. So you know he's not addressing them. He's addressing the audience. That's a fourth wall break. Anyway, let's stop talking about this and get on with it.
Obviously, you can't audience directly because they aren't there. Instead, you have to cold read an imaginary audience figure and address that hypothetical being like you're talking to a person. And that means your personal assumptions about your audience can kind of leak through. And I know what you're thinking. Gosh, Red, I just love those dulcet tones of yours. I could listen to you.
What do you mean with personal assumptions about your audience?
She is addressing the mental state of an actor who's supposedly talking directly to the camera and thinking about supposedly an audience person. Are you joking me right now?
That's not how it works. Like, why would they imagine an audience? Like, what they have to do is that they have to do a performance dictated by the director. That's all they have to do.
Look at
And depending on the stage you're on, which
Look at
Red
this.
probably hasn't, depending on the stage lighting, you don't see shit. You don't see anyone. If you're lucky, you see people in the first row.
look at the subtitles we got here. And by the way, I loved Reboot. She's just rambling on about her ego. Look, guys, I did research. I know writing. I'm going to talk from TV tropes. I know stuff. Oh, by the way, I'm a person. It's like, honey, get on with it. We're at 4 minutes now. Nothing.
Point forever. And by the way, I loved Reboot. I totally watched the whole thing except for season 4. You got any more media recommendations I'd like? And I appreciate that, viewer, but now is hardly the time. This is all just a lengthy preamble to contextualize today's actual point, which is the practice of lampshading.
Thank you.
Lampshading, or lampshade hanging, is a specific
Oh,
kind
great.
of fourth
Text
wall
on-
break where a writer or creator actively draws attention.
It's not a fourth. What?
No, it's not. It's not a deliberate fourth wall break. It's just that the thing that happens is so contrived and stupid and ill-fitting that it breaks immersion. That does not necessarily break the fourth wall, but it breaks internal consistency.
You can't argue some lampshades could be fourth wall breaks, but it's not a kind of. That's like saying you have a leak in your tire. Well, it's definitely done by a nail. It's like, no, it could be done by anything.
Look,
So, lampshading is kind of like in a James Bond movie where the villain captures Bond and then he tells his entire evil plan to Bond, and then he sends him off.
No. Then he puts him into a contrived trap that, and
Yes.
then leaves.
Yeah.
But that's almost a trope in itself.
Well, yeah, for sure.
And evil people actually tend to do something like that. They love telling you their evil plans when you're in a weak position. It's very strange that
Oh
happens
yeah,
in
Klaus
real life.
Schwab. Yeah.
Well, that's
Exactly.
that-
we have the actual Bond villains in real life.
Well, I think you're right.
We just lack the Bond.
bugs.
That's a good example because I don't know if you guys remember the classic Bond with Connery, the Goldfinger scene with the laser, and it's like,
No, Mr. Bond, I'm expecting you to die.
yeah, it's like he makes some quip about something. About he always finds himself in these situations while the laser is about to kill him, and then he's acknowledging how absurd this whole scenario is, and then it's like, oh, why am I doing this or whatever? He says something that gets his attention and he stops the laser or whatever. It's just like, what the hell? Like it's this silly thing that it makes
And it's so early on acknowledged that this is silly. But you must never forget that these types of super rich supervillains are crazy. They can't just shoot you. They have to do some art piece, like the gaudy form of of Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. That guy also has to do the elaborate weird thing because he's crazy.
right.
It's more about the, like Megamind has explained this very well. It's all about presentation. You can't just like when Obi-Wan says, what did he say about the gun?
So uncivilized.
So uncivilized.
So uncivilized. Exactly. The supervillains, the super rich supervillains, they have to kill you in an especially contrived way because that is more civilized.
Right. And even when you see that scene where he's fighting Grievous, who has like 4 whirling lightsabers, and it's so like no one can possibly stop that. I don't care who you are as like a saber master or whatever. There's no way you could stop 4 when they're spinning like that, like crazy. But he manages to do it. And you're like, okay.
I mean, Obi-Wan should have just used force powers earlier because Grievous doesn't have any force powers, so
Just
he's
crush him.
vulnerable to that. So let's boop.
He's a robot. Just crush his body with your mind, like boom.
Just break his arms, break his robot arms.
Yeah.
You can do it, and you're not hurting anyone, so you can actually do the Vader choke thing, but just break his robot arms.
There's
Works.
there's so many problems with when you think about Star Wars for about 20 seconds. You're like, wait a second, how the hell did he do that? Why did he do that?
It at least moves at a pace where it's entertaining enough that you don't necessarily immediately think about it. The thing with lampshading is that you notice it in the moment.
It's usually a logical or plot-related thing that you said, why you wanted the golden fleece, why did you stop getting it? Like, what? Like, why?
Yeah.
So.
I've opened the TV Tropes page that Red probably works with mainly. Maybe she wrote it. I don't know. But it opens with a wonderful Shakespeare quote from the 12th Night, where Sir Toby Belch asks, "Is it possible?" And Fabian says, "If this were played upon a stage now, I could condemn it as an improbable fiction." And I think that brings it down. There is a fourth wall break in that because it's, well, not necessarily. It's more the character in the play acts or says that so since my world, the world of fiction that I exist in, is my real world, the things that happen in the story that we're in our lives are so improbable. If you put it on a stage, it would be called fiction, which is in real life usually the reaction of when you tell a story where you were gaslit, because that sounds so improbable, so insane that if you wrote it down, that you wouldn't find a publisher to publish it, because the publisher would say this is too unbelievable. And this part of the thing that happened in the story is too unbelievable. That's the lampshading core. So that needs to be explained. If you just gloss over it, then the audience sits there and thinks like that's stupid.
This is look at her description. Someone might acknowledge non-diegetic objects or set dressing by hanging a lampshade on it. Like what? Why do you need non-diegetic objects? That doesn't relate to anything.
You don't hang a lampshade on it. You put a spotlight on it.
Yeah.
This is an old term as far as I'm concerned. As far as I know.
It can be like a good description of a thing that you buy, that the audience buys and goes, okay, that makes sense, is no longer a lampshade. It just makes sense. It's something that the lore explains, the logic explains, whatever the argument is. That's a good
basically one. The story or character saying,
why?
We know this thing is stupid.
Right, and you could actually summarize or throw away all behavior with, well, this personality, this guy's a moron, that's why he did it. You're like, oh. So it's like, okay, that's a good one. The guy's a moron. He banged his head against someone and kept banging his head against the wall because that's all he knew how to do. He has an IQ of 50, whatever. Like, great, okay, I could buy it.
I'd say the line, Palpatine is back, somehow.
No, it's not a lampshade.
No?
That's just stupid.
Yes, it is stupid. The problems of lampshading, where lampshading happens, they are stupid. And this addition of somehow is the acknowledgement that, well, that doesn't make any sense. It exploded twice.
Oh, okay. Anyway, we finally got our description. Let her continue.
To some quirk of the benefit of their audience, frequently a cliche, the audience's immersion or suspension of disbelief. Like, if a boom mic is visible in a shot, a character might take a lampshade and hang it on the boom mic to show the audience that they know it's there.
No.
This reframes the presence.
That is so. What are you talking about, honey?
That is not it. What the hell is wrong with you, Red?
This is so stupid. What are we doing with this?
That is a fourth wall break.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just that's just a production error. That's not a lampshade. What the hell?
Jesus Christ. Anyway, I'm really gonna ball of whiskey.
Oh, God.
I want to see where this is going.
Reframes the presence of the microphone in the shot from looking like a mistake to being a cute in-joke. In a sense, it's an intentional disruption of the fourth wall to soften the blow of something that might otherwise
that's a
damage
fourth wall
the audience's
break.
immersion behind the fourth wall.
This isn't.
No.
Spaceballs, where they literally show this set where the guy kills the dude with the camera crew.
Yeah, like, during the fight, yeah.
Yeah, it's not what she's talking about. This is like a B movie in the 70s where they show the boom mic, and then the for whatever stupid reason in her imaginary world, the actor's like, well, look at that cool lamp. I'm going to put a lamp, like literally a lampshade on it. Like, no one's ever done that in movie cinema history. I've never
didn't
seen
you
that.
even read your own favorite website? It even says there. It makes no mention of props as far as I looked over this. But there's a very good key sentence there. It's leaning on the fourth wall. Not breaking it. It's leaning on it.
Anyway, this is so stupid. I can't believe we waited 4 minutes for it to get a definition, and after 30 seconds we get a literal picture of a lampshade. She's amazing. I was not expecting this.
Hey guys, I spent 5 minutes on TV tropes, and I think this is what lampshading makes.
Oh, yeah.
She's just making up shit, and like she heard a word, she makes up shit about it by thinking like, oh, it probably means this or that. I'm gonna present that as fact, and this is how these sorts of people make up stuff about being asexual.
Oh God, no. Let's not go there.
Let's not go there.
Let's not
any other political bullshit. I'm leaving it at that.
I'm going to.
This is how it happens.
I'm going to hope that this is just an analogy, and she's just explaining it literally. That's all I'm going to go with, because this is so stupid.
It was all a prank.
It was all in her head. Like, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
Like Mario 2.
But this is where the factoring in and can start causing problems. When a writer chooses to lampshade something, in the most basic terms, it's usually because they don't think their audience is going to like that thing. Hanging a lampshade on it to prove they're in on the joke is the artist's way of reducing that impact so the audience knows to just laugh
Not
and move on. But this means the artist has to make some assumptions about what their audience is potentially going to dislike about their story, and that can get a little weird. Now, there's a bit of a scale here. At its most minor, lampshading is barely more than a wink and a nudge. Characters will briefly acknowledge some story contrivance or silliness and then quickly move on. A character might wonder where some conveniently timed dramatic wind came from, or how a character quick changed into a new outfit so fast.
Joke.
Basically, the cast shows a degree of self-awareness in recognizing some of the pretenses of their fictional world without ever directly implying that they're aware of a fourth wall beyond that world. This doesn't so much break immersion as jostle it lightly for comedic effect. But the more we slide up the scale, the more disruptive lampshading can become. Sometimes characters will actively call out,
what is she there's no like, what are you she's implying that in a certain comedy, the audience, or sorry, the actors in whatever show will address the improbability of this world being believable, which is basic verisimilitude. It's like, yes, you can play around with that, but that's a comedy. You're expecting jokes. It doesn't matter what the jokes are. Mm-hmm. You're expecting it to be ha-ha. This is one very specific example. That's not what lampshading is, honey. Large lampshades that draw the eye to larger elements? Yeah, that's fine, but not the way she's describing it.
Tyler Preston has put a summary of it in the chat that is very direct. Lampshade hanging. Strengthening the audience's willing suspension of disbelief by having characters acknowledge and draw attention to improbable plot points rather than ignoring them.
Good enough for me.
Yeah.
That's all she had to do with the first 10 seconds, and then stop the stupid pictures and just get on with examples.
Yeah. There's nothing. It has less to do with fourth wall breaking. It's just acknowledging the things that are happening right now are very improbable and seem like they would only happen in a badly written fictional story, like in real life right now.
This is like putting a Band-Aid over a cut, and she's describing the styles and types of cuts. It's like, that's not the point. It's the thing to cover up the mistake, not the nature of the mistake or how big it is or how small. Just what is the thing that covers the thing up, and why is it used? How is it used? Not, this plot hole is gigantic and it's the size of a sun. It's like, that's not, we don't care. Like, it doesn't make a difference.
Like, when we keep talking about the absolute absurdity of present day politics and the things that actually happen, if we would be for aliens, the television show Earth, these would be improbable plot points that we would be lampshading, because the things that are happening are so insane and unbelievable, and it's unbelievable that humanity lets horrible people get away with crimes against humanity. That's a similar thing. If we wrote these, like, because every time we have the very same plots in fictional stories, people are just shown like one news clip where the actual evil of the politician in question or the corrupt industrialist or whatever is shown, and then all the people get upset and then stand up and then bring that horrible person down, and then the story is done. In real life, that doesn't happen. You can tell people that there's these horrible, absurd things. Here's all the proof. Here's entire binders of proof, and people will just go, that's unlikely. I don't believe it. And that's how they get away with it. And that seems hard to believe because there's just so much proof. It's just so obvious. And it's just, it happens in real life.
She needs to have give examples. And there's plenty of examples in video games, in movies, in books where this happens. She went on for 4 minutes about the stage, which is, I don't even know. Like, it doesn't matter. It's the narrative that matters, not the physical expression of it. This is so silly. Give me a story where lampshading occurs and show me why it's bad. That's all I got to do. Anyway.
Plot points they're experiencing, pointing out that they're implausible or even cliched. A character might bemoan that the setting they're in is totally stereotypical, or that a villain is indulging in a classic evil monologue, or that they have to go rescue a damsel in distress. How original. This is where lampshading can start causing problems by highlighting authorial insecurity.
What?
As mentioned, most authors lampshade things they don't like or feel that they can't justify in story. When those are fun little quirks, that's one thing, but when they escalate to plot points, it kind of provokes a question. If the writer wasn't happy with this story beat, why did they still choose to write it that way? If the writer is calling themselves out on being unoriginal, that implies they have a problem with it.
There is a positive example of this in Stargate SG-1, where the characters eventually acknowledge that the Goa'uld are stupid. They're powerful, but they're stupid and act like insane cartoon villains. And it then turns out that there is a reason for that, because the use of their regeneration sarcophagus, which allows them to live that long, is addictive and slowly turns them insane. Like, one of the characters, Daniel Jackson, at some point got addicted to that thing, and he turned into an absolutely egotistical, ruthless ruler through it. That's how they figured that out. And that's when they then start to use that against the Goa'uld, acting like cartoon villains. Because now they can predict the enemies.
She's trying to describe the insecurity of the writer or the author, and having the characters in the narrative address that. And it's like, no, that's not. You could talk about anything in the story if that's the case, because a writer could have any emotion that they could be insecure about, or any design that they're insecure about. That is nothing. That is not why we have lampshades. That is not why we use them. She's just making shit up now. It's like, oh, well, this writer did this, and that's dumb, and it happens to be when he was talking about his mother, and that's weird. It's like, yeah, but that's not the plot.
Yeah, this scene of Frozen is not an example of lampshading. What was her name? Elsa?
Elsa, yeah.
Yeah. Elsa is just being the mature, responsible adult in the scene who tells her giddy, stupid, naive sister with her big heart, what you're doing is silly and stupid and will only cause you trouble because you're not thinking ahead. You're just being driven by your emotions. You're driven by your hormones. You're basically brain dead right now. Stop doing that. Sit down, take a breath, go outside. You need a timer. That's what she's saying here.
I don't see the insecurities of the writer or weaknesses in a plot as this self-introspective narrative. Like, you don't need to do that. And I don't really, like, it's not important. The only time you want to have characters address each other when they're talking about each other. It's like, okay, you are acting like this. Why is that? And they ask themselves why they are feeling and doing what they're doing. This is not, character flaws are not a reason for lampshading. It's the logical inconsistency of what happened before, in general, that you use a lampshade to cover it up. To at least address the science fiction, the fantasy, the lack of plot structure or reasoning, intelligence, not the character. Like, this. I don't even know where.
I don't think she knows.
I don't think she's written a story to know what the hell she's talking about. Like, this is weird. Anyway, I'm a bit lost here.
Completely fine to be unoriginal. It doesn't need to be justified or mocked or turned into a little knowing wink and a nudge. Many tropes are popular because they work, and using things that work doesn't make a writer bad. But apologizing for your art preemptively is always a bad idea. Most artists are their own worst critics and will almost always be able to rattle off at least 3 things they'd change about anything they do. But telling people that before they've even got a chance to see it themselves will prime them to be disappointed. This is actually a concept that...
That's not lampshading.
Why is she...
That's being pure and self-deprecating.
Why is Julia...
Maybe it's for compliments.
Why is there a celebrity chef from the 60s on... What is happening right now?
I don't think Red knows.
You
said she has an editor for this?
What the hell? I don't know what's going on anymore.
I think either the editor is as insane as Red and just does random things, or the editor is actually very subtly trolling Red.
What is happening?
No way. It probably is only edited by Red. This is barely anything. Come on.
What is happening?
I don't know. Gordon Ramsay? Is Gordon Ramsay a lampshade?
Oh my god.
Where's the lamp sauce?
This is... I gotta know. What the hell is she talking about? What's happening?
This is not even half
people
the video.
brought up at one point, saying, "I don't believe in twisting yourself into knots of excuses and explanations over the food you make. Usually one's cooking is better than one thinks it is, and if the food is truly vile, then the cook must simply grit her teeth and bear it with a smile, and learn from her mistake."
What are you talking about?
How is that irrelevant to the...
My brain is just like, what?
What is this?
I don't know.
It's what I'm. So this is a wonderful example of
the female brain. Yeah,
this is not autism. She's rambling on about tons of random things that are somehow connected in her schizoid brain. If you were talking, if this was an artist making this whole thing, these 16 minutes, all these things would be connected to each other in a sensible fashion, or it would at least come together more obviously.
She could have brought up Bob Ross and pretty little mistakes, or whatever the hell he says. Happy little mistakes. It's the same message. Yeah, you learn from your mistakes. You're all imperfect, and you have to cover them up when you do. It's like, yeah, okay, gotcha.
We only have happy accidents.
Happy accidents. Yeah, whatever you call. Like, that would have made more sense. But cooking? Like, what are you talking about? Cooking with Julia Child. Hello, we're going to do chicken for 12 hours. Okay, sure.
Also, like, what the hell is going on in this comic that, like, is on the screen right now? Like, the speech bubbles are unfinished or something. Like, I had to think, like, a single minute to, like, decide, like, who's talking there. Like, who does this?
Are you on another? I'm on 644. Are you at another second?
643.
644.
Okay. I don't see speech bubbles.
There's 2 characters talking with each other. And now an alphabetized list of what's wrong with me. Can I just read the book? No.
Maybe it's at the end of the second.
I want her to explain herself. I am confused and lost.
That's just wishful thinking, Smug.
If you were dating this woman, I would just stand up and walk away. This is so stupid. This is insane. I could not follow a word she said. What is...
This is how people become gay.
I guess. I don't know.
No.
So they become asexual.
Or drunk. Anyway.
You hear this rambling and you just think, I think my balls are shriveling up. They don't want the human race to continue because this is what it's become.
I'm still thinking that she's just fucking around. Like this can't be real. Like this has to be like some act. That, like I'm gonna generate something with AI. Then put it into a review.
I bet that's what happened. The past 2 years or whatever, she found some AI script and just read.
All she does is just read them.
Yeah, go scrape TV
out.
tropes and just make shit up, and I'll read it.
It's just so bad. That must have been bad AI. Because I've seen some chatbots lately that were for like, wow, that's insanely good.
Yeah. Well. Anyway, let's get at least to 8 minutes so that we can give her the benefit of the doubt that because we gave her 4 minutes and she wasted her time, we're gonna give her another 4.
You know she never does. But you know the super insanity is at the end.
No, we're not.
Okay, the 10-minute mark.
10 minutes. All right, fine. 10 minutes. We'll go for 10 minutes.
Basically, a meal you're about to serve, and don't lead by pointing out your own mess-ups. It's better for everyone to let the audience come to their own conclusions about it. If you let the art speak for itself, the audience will get to draw their own conclusions with a clean slate.
The art of what? Acting? The art of what is happening? The narrative? The writing art? The set design?
Like the use of lampshade is like because it's justified because there's no way the audience is gonna get that information otherwise. It's not because like their own conclusion that like, oh well, you couldn't figure it out yourself.
The art should speak for itself, but if the art has a problem, you use a lampshade to cover it up so it doesn't feel as dumb, and the audience goes, oh, okay, yeah, at least they addressed the problem, even if the explanation is stupid. I'm not expecting much from my sci-fi, horror, whatever show. It's fine.
Yeah, but that's not covering it up. It's the opposite of covering it up.
It's addressing the fact that there's a problem and saying, this is my explanation. It's not a good explanation, but it's an explanation. That's enough for a lot of audience members.
It's the one we have.
Right. It's not good. It's not great. It's just the one that we're going with. So it means you have a bad script, unfortunately, but yeah. That's it. That's all it is.
Space Junk says that like we should play the entire clip and then talk about it. It's less confusing.
No.
Like,
we
what
never
clip?
know when
like,
the thing stops.
We have the subtitles enabled. Like, this is as close as we can understand her.
If you're
like some kind of like red whisperer, then please explain what is going on.
If we don't stop, she would have talked about 12 different topics that are somehow related and we'll be completely lost to comment on.
Space Junk, you want to come on?
Yeah, guys, it's really hard to follow her. And if you don't pause, you're going to forget what she just said 10 seconds ago because she jumped to another topic.
I still remember she was talking for 3 minutes straight, or 4, about fourth wall break. That's all that I remember. Everything else was just garbage.
Yeah, it's really that bad. And if we were her peanut gallery while she was saying this for the first time, we'd be like, honey, stop. What did you just say? Why? Why did you say that and then just change topics and then change topics again?
What did you just say about Mein Kampf?
Okay, again, 10 minutes. We're doing 10 minutes. The 7-minute mark, we got 3 minutes to go.
Without being predisposed to notice and dislike the things you personally don't like about it. But if you apologize for your work or demean it, it kind of looks like you're trying to salvage your reputation as a creator by distancing yourself from the thing you made. Which again begs the question why you made it in the first place if you aren't proud of it. And this can be...
What are these examples? Was not the costume joke about Wolverine was not a lampshade.
How are we going from?
There was a homage.
How are we going from the writer addressing a serious problem with his story to use this lampshade to, oh, I'm not good enough. I want the audience to make me like I want them to know I'm apologetic to what I wrote because I'm no good. Like that's no. Writers are egotistical. They do whatever they want. And if you're lucky, you get someone who's a little introspective and goes, oh, maybe I should clarify that. Oh, wait, the clarification sucks. I got to put a lampshade on that. It's not complicated. it's a bad writing technique. Sometimes you have to do it. That's it. Okay, here we go.
A serious problem when lampshading becomes large-scale or chronic. This is at its most visible when stories actively undercut emotional moments by lampshading that, boy, an emotional moment sure just happened. How embarrassing.
No.
You know the trope. The soundtrack swells more bombastic than ever. A character makes an anguished declaration of love or steels themselves for a heroic sacrifice or gazes teary-eyed in a moment of crushing emotional impact, and then the soundtrack abruptly cuts out as we snap to a wide shot and the whole thing just looks silly.
That's comedy. That's not... What is she doing? I could point to
so many... That's not lampshading.
I can go to...
That's a subversive joke.
Yeah, I can go to the last 20 minutes of Mass Effect 3 and go like every sentence out of that space boy's mouth is crazy, insane crap that makes no sense, and they make no attempt to put a lampshade because it's already crazy. And it's just, okay, I mean, this is what's happening. And you're like, all right. Nothing to do with emotions. You're just...
What is wrong with her that she can't properly categorize tropes with examples?
All she has to do is read the TV tropes page.
She's miscategorizing everything that she does.
Yeah, you just go
all the examples that are all on screen when she explains something do not fit what she's talking about. And here now she explains an example that is not what she's talking about. That is not lampshading. She's just horrible. This is her show. This is her shtick. Trope talk. And she doesn't understand the tropes she talks about. Red, what you should do, because you're feverishly looking for examples for the tropes that you talk about, how about instead, when you watch something, you just, as you go, naturally just make a list on the side of the things you see and categorize them. Like, this is that trope, this is that trope. I just watched this movie and there's this trope. Pause, write it down, continue watching. Because then you get an exhaustive list of stuff that you can actually use later on for your show. Because this all looks like you couldn't think of examples and just put random shit on there and talk about random shit. I'm not sure you can categorize proper things. Maybe that's why you don't understand yourself.
Yeah, like for the example of on the screen, I'm assuming, I haven't seen the film, but it's a Lego movie, I guess, or one of the Lego movies. She's probably referring to whenever the characters in the story address the fact that they're Lego characters or there are bricks involved or whatever nuances the creators did in that universe to make it make sense. They're addressing the verisimilitude of the narrative. That's normal because it's a comedy. It's for kids. People are having an adult joke by going, I wonder why I always land on my feet and I connect my hand to the brick all the time. Like, it's Lego. It's an inside joke. We get it. It's comedy. It's fine. You could call it a lampshade. It doesn't make a difference at that point. It's a joke. It's supposed to make you laugh. Maybe there's a specific lampshade in the plot. I don't know, but I don't care because she's not explaining a thing.
Around with embarrassment that they had the audacity to in the plot and then move on. This is called bathos, and you might recognize it from every Marvel movie. It isn't just lampshading a costume choice or a bit of weird timing. It's lampshading the concept of emotion. Now, I might just be old-fashioned about this, but I don't think that's the kind of story element you want your audience to stop being invested in. The primary benefit of lampshading is it signals to the audience what it's okay for them to ignore. You hang a lampshade on something to tell the audience, hey man, it's just a show, you can really just relax. How'd the characters get from point A to point B so fast? Even they're not sure, so don't worry about it. Where's that dramatic wind coming from? No idea, so we can move on. Is this character being fully played by a new actor with no explanation? Yup. Anyway, lampshading acknowledges
I will say comedy doesn't count for this. The point of comedy is to be silly, contrived, and sometimes illogical. This is just to be cool. Those are bad examples.
These are all weird. I don't know what to say to them. It's like they could be lampshade examples, but I need specific points that, because some of them are like that. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal because the nature of the narrative is not to worry about details because Star Wars, for example, is not hard science fiction. You don't need to know how blasters work or lightsabers work to enjoy it. That's true.
God, if like a Phantom Menace was full of lampshades.
Yeah, but you don't expect them to start going into the science of like lightsabers. Like you don't. That would be weird. So you don't need that. And it's not. All those scenes are played for laughs. Oh, Master's going to kill me again because I destroyed my lights or lost my lightsaber, whatever the joke was. It's like, yeah, that's it. We don't need to know how it works or why it's got split in half or whatever. Anyway, we have 2 minutes left. I think she's wasting her time. I think that's it. This is all this is.
Acknowledges a narrative pretense just enough to tell the audience, don't worry about it, it's fine, so they don't get hung up on it. But that means if we hang a lampshade on something really important, we basically tell the audience, hey, that emotional arc or intense fight scene or entire premise of the third act, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it.
No, what are you doing? This is what theoretical example where the writer just starts throwing lampshades on things that he finds questionable for reasons? Like, what are you talking about now? Is this like third act jitters where they're like, I don't know what to do with the plot anymore, but that thing that happened in Act 2, wow, that was weird. And you're like, yeah, that was weird. Why are we talking about that? Give me an example why that's a thing that would happen in a story and why that's good or bad. I don't know what theoretical movie she's talking about or book or game.
All the things she's sorry, all the things she's bringing up here, they're not lampshading. That's just self-deprecating authors who are embarrassed by the work they make, and just it's like when children or teenagers write something. Oh, yeah, I think teenagers is the right time when that happens. Like when she brought the example of I made this picture, but it's so full of errors.
Yeah.
And the way these Hollywood writers and the modern game writers do that is that they write all the stuff, they know it's bad, and so through the self-deprecation of shining a light on it, they're trying to tell us that we should just accept it. The writer knows it's bad, but it's not really. It's not the actual lampshading, where it's about really unbelievable plot points. It's just that they do this for every trope there is. Like they're embarrassed to write a story in the first place. They're embarrassed to write a fantasy story. They're embarrassed to write a love story. And Red is mistaking all of that self-deprecation of these bad writers for lampshading.
Yeah, and these can be...
I think there needs to be a different term for this specific...
You could do... I mean, there's ways to do this without lampshading. It's called plot resolution or addressing plot threads or all sorts of other things that are holes in a story. Like, can you imagine if we had an intelligent writer, or, I don't know, a writer that actually could have functioning eyes and ears at the end of Mass Effect 3 and went, wait a second, all of this is bullshit. And if I addressed every single thing everyone said for the last 20 minutes, we'd be here for 2 hours. Trying to explain things away. Like, that's not going to happen. Writers don't do that. It would make no sense to have the audience sit there going, oh wait, yeah, I gotta resolve this. That makes perfect sense to me. I don't have enough time. Like, Casey, you're a moron. You're insane. Mac, you're absolutely worthless. I have to fix this myself. That's not going to happen. Those guys are in charge of the story and everything else. So you're not going to get this self-deprecating writer or guy who walks in at the last minute and goes, okay, let me fix this forever. Let me tie up all these plot threads. Let me explain how synthesis works. It's like, it was not going to happen.
Yeah. Space Junk asks a question to which I have a very short answer. Smart. Could Mass Effect 3 have been saved by putting lampshades on everything?
Saved how? Like,
by what Red explains here. By just lampshading all the problems.
Even Red disagrees with that. It's unsavable.
You could sit for like several hours as they explain the behavior of the Reapers in general, but you can't. If you get specific, it falls apart. because it doesn't make sense. You can't have super genius people or beings that are billions of years old do stupid shit and say, well, we're super smart and we just goofed up. So we just kept going. Like a giant bureaucracy just kept going. It's like, really? How do you you have to have super brilliant explanations for super big problems. And if you don't have that, if you're not a super big AI to give an explanation, you're not going to have a good story. You're not going to have a lampshade big enough to cover it up. So you could try, but you're going to fail.
Lampshading Mass Effect 3 would require the characters to, at some point, say, lol, we are in a space science fiction story, and well, things just happen. Haha.
Yeah,
let's shoot the big things.
It is so bad that I always say this is the worst story ending in the history of all the stories I've ever seen and heard I could think of. Like, it's just,
oh wow,
it's that messed up. Like, there's no way you could possibly put plot threads together, have it make sense. Villains and characters makes, like, nothing connects. It's magic ending, hero time. You're the player character. You get to choose. Bye-bye. Here's an epilogue with PowerPoint. Okay, bye.
Worse than TLJ.
Oh, yeah. Way worse.
That's
worse than Episode 9. Episode 9 is a train wreck. My God.
That's an award. I never saw Episode 9. I couldn't. The trailer gave me a fucking migraine from the strobe lights.
I think intellectually...
I'm not going to watch that.
No. I mean, you don't watch it for fun. You watch it to see the 20-car pileup. Like, that's why you watch it.
Yeah, but even for that, I won't watch it because the movie is full of fucking strobe lights.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Fuck Hollywood.
That's like J.J. Abrams trying to tell audience that, like, hey, don't watch this movie.
Maybe.
Disney made me do it.
It certainly worked for me. Honestly, JJ, go back to your forgot the word. Lens flares. Go back to your lens flares. Okay? As long as you don't use the fucking strobe lights again.
So the lens flares and
how about lens flares with the strobe lights on them?
I remember the lens flares in Star Trek, the first one.
Oh, that might be less bad because the contrast between the light and the flare is less extreme.
I don't know. It's
as on Exegol, where it's darkness, bright screen, darkness, bright screen, darkness, bright screen, darkness, bright screen, darkness, bright screen. My brain. In the fucking trailer. I had a migraine from the fucking trailer in the cinema, and I couldn't watch them. I don't even remember what the movie I was there for because I just had a fucking headache.
We can get you a really cool pair of sunglasses. You could watch the movie in the theater.
I don't want to sit in the cinema with sunglasses.
You look so cool.
I'm not that cool. Okay? I'm not that cool that I sit in the cinema with sunglasses.
We will make you cool. That's how it goes. We'll buy you a beer. We'll get those $20 seats at the front. Get recline.
In the front seats in the cinema. Are you insane?
Those are hilarious. Don't you?
Who the hell?
Yeah,
who the hell sits in the front seats in the cinema?
I wish I knew.
But it's filled up. Like, you can not sit anywhere else. That's when you go to the front seat.
You sit in the center row, in the center columns, yes, but you don't sit in the front seats. What the hell is wrong? Have you ever been to a cinema?
Next to, like, the people who have, like, problems with mobility.
Yeah, but it's like standing right next to a wall.
Something different, and even then, those.
And laying down and trying to watch a film at a wall of a building.
Our cinema here made accommodations for that. They have the best line, like the center line, is broader. Like, you have so much leg freedom that if you extend your legs, you won't touch the other seats. You can drive a wheelchair through that, no problem.
Wow. German
they actually thought about that properly, because there's nothing more shit than being in the cinema in the front row or
and
at the walls. Oh god, in Pilsner. Fuck off.
Okay.
And then watching a J.J. Abrams movie.
All right. Well, we got a minute and a half left, and then we can go get a shot of whiskey, and everything will be better.
Let's just have half a minute. I don't think we can do another minute.
This is so bad. Yeah.
It's so bad.
I will only ever watch that horrible Episode 9 movie with someone else in the room who catches me from falling off the couch in case I have a seizure.
Okay. All right.
And I want to be paid for it.
Oh, geez. I could set this up, but it's going to take some time. Just got to get to know who you're around, and it's like, hey, you want to watch a film with a crazy person who doesn't want to watch a film? But it's like, what?
And you have to pay that person too.
Yeah,
all the mad bills are on you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll go for another 30 seconds because why else are we watching this person? I don't know why. Anyway.
And if we tell the audience you don't need to care about this part of the story, they won't. There's nothing wrong with sprinkling in the occasional nod to the fourth wall. Letting characters acknowledge the pretenses of their fictional universe is frequently good for a quick laugh, and it can make them feel more relatable if they react the way we'd react to something unlikely or ridiculous. But the problem is, lampshading is kind of the enemy of sincerity.
I'm lost. I don't care what you ask. This is so dumb.
Lampshading is not the enemy of sincerity. It is the admission that the writing's bad.
It's basically abandoned. Yeah.
When the writing's bad, it's already insincere.
Got to cover it up. Use a thing. Okay.
It's the author saying, "I screwed up here. Please, audience, please try to not. Please just accept that. Okay."
Yeah. It's not. This is her way of thinking is so backwards and twisted. I don't know what she's getting at here. And why? Can you imagine like being a writer and listening to her going, lampshading is a kind of enemy of sincerity. It's like, what do I take from that?
Imagine the people listening to Red trying to become writers from that.
Yeah, guys, if you want to write, don't go to TV tropes.
I know a fan of hers who is trying to write a story and
really?
He has some creative ideas, but man, don't listen to her, please.
Yeah, please don't. This is
she's wrong on everything.
This is whiskey. Like I feel like I really missed a shot about an hour ago. I really wish I had some whiskey just to chill out because this is so painful. If any of my writer friends or teachers saw this, they'd be like, "What the heck is she talking about?"
It's not my whiskey shelf always has an extra bottle in case I forget to stock up.
Oh, that's smart.
You always need that fallback bottle of Chivas Regal.
Oh,
because that's bearable.
Yeah, well, it's a nice
not
bottle.
Expensive.
It's a very popular bottle. It's a given. You know, you got some taste. I admit it. It's a nice bottle.
It's drinkable.
Yeah,
it's not that expensive. It's something you can just have in the back of the off the shelf.
Yeah.
And in case that this happens, and you're out of the good bottles, the good stuff, then you can break that one.
Good point.
And then you put a new one in the back that just in case for those really, really bad.
Yeah, if this was maybe in the middle of the day, I might have a beer, but this is late. You gotta have.
This is not worth a beer.
No.
If you drink beer to that, you become an actual alcoholic, because then you're just drinking the pain away.
Oh well, I'm happy when I'm drinking beer, but okay, maybe that's what might happen if I ever watch a Red video and go to beer.
Yeah,
and be like,
look, don't see. This is the problem, Smut. You must not drink the alcohol for, especially the beer, for dealing with pain. That's when you start the alcoholism.
I agree with that. That's true.
Only drink for the happy thing. Like when we're laughing about the absurdity, then you can take the whiskey. When it's just pain from, oh my god, then don't.
All right. Well, I think we're done. We can do some. What are we doing? Do you have any
we
memes?
never did the stream memes from.
Yeah, those are fun.
The tons of stream memes from the event.
Oh boy, that's gonna take a while.
We haven't done stream memes in weeks.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Let's see what we got.
How many is that?
The 30th?
I don't know.
Jeez, how far back do we have to go here? Oh my god, yeah, this is very far. How far can we go?
Okay, it's the 15th.
I'm on the 14th. That's a bit too much. Okay. I'm on the 16th of December. I'm on the 23rd. God of War. Okay, that sounds about right. 23rd. God of War fans beg Sony not to cast Tom Holland as Kratos in new series? What the hell? That's a joke, right? My lawyers have advised that I do not finish this joke. Oh my. Interesting. Every year, 10 million dogs are killed to make PlayStation controllers. What? Oh, that's clever, but kind of sad.
Is that real? I mean, just the texture.
No. Kratos ripping gods in half. Kratos opening a chest. Kratos smashes a chest. If you ever see the animation, he just breaks the thing with his fist.
He just punches it at this point.
Grabs it. Whatever's inside.
Kratos does have problems with opening gates still.
Yeah. I'm doing this for my daughter. I'm doing all of this for her. You would never understand. I just want to fight people.
Yep, that's greed. He's awesome. The thing is, Asura is the one doing everything for his daughter.
Oh.
The main character.
EFAP huffing their own farts. Horton takes a whiff by Dr. Bratt. What's this? The Red Skull. Oh, God of War. Ragnarok sucks. They ruined Kratos. The game is woke. 10 rules for life. EFAP, when you point out the woke messages that the devs brag is in their game. Yeah.
Yeah.
We never talked about that, and thankfully so, because I don't care. Have only 2 South Americans in your show. Make them both gay. This might be the most accurate show ever. What? Because you're South American, you're gay. All right. The Greeks were gay. The Greeks. Plato. It's contrary to nature. Republic. Okay. Xenophon. Attraction to a boy's beauty is an abomination. Alexander. You foulest of all men. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, so everyone pretty much outside of Aristotle, maybe, do not like the gay.
Oh, you must read Aristophanes' plays. They are amazing. He wrote The Birds, and everybody should read The Birds.
EFAP right now. I hope you guys not only see me as retarded and a serious danger to society, but also a friend. Okay. I'll have to requote that movie to make sure it's accurate.
Look, and about Aristoteles, you have to know what his wife was like. There are certain women that make you want to be gay.
Well, it is a thing with Plato's Socrates, that marrying a bad wife turns you into a philosopher.
Yeah, but look, yes, there's the joke that he became a philosopher just to stay away. And Xantippe, which is her name, is or has been in the last century been a common insult for women.
Really?
Yes, in Germany. Yes.
Okay. So here's me. Am I out of touch? No, it's the EFAP who are wrong. Effectively, yes. I mean, we could summarize a few things they said, which were factually incorrect. I might still do that video. It's like, just 2 points to address, but we've already gone over it. So
another TLDR of the long form explanation of the TLDR.
Yeah, you may as well. Because someone brought up Freya. Oh, I like this one. I saw this one before. Why are you looking at me like that? So you could, just get into a QuickTime event.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's
that's the God kill QuickTime event.
Oh, really?
That starts the cutscene of killing the God.
Oh, cool.
Because she's fucking horrible. And from the look on Atreus' face, he knows what's up.
Okay.
What that means. Yeah.
Florida man.
On the Skinner meme, however, implies that you are actually wrong.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. I'm still waiting to be shown what I said, because I didn't really say much, if anything at all. I just quoted them, and
it's mostly us who talked.
Yeah, I remember what I said about those 2 points, because that's what I thought were really important, and I think most of us agreed those are the two major factors from Mahler and Rags that were incorrect. If not, what's the word from Rags that he says he doesn't care, but he really cares? Something like that along those lines. Strange thing to say.
He has no interest in going at all, but he really loves it, and there should be more made of the games like this.
Oh yeah, they should be applauded and lauded. I don't know if that was a phonetic thing in his brain, but it's like, okay.
Yeah, you have no interest, but you applaud it.
Okay, sure. All right, Florida man, always a good trope. 37 arrested for kidnapping 27 people and forcing them to play Yahtzee for 36 hours straight. How do you even pull that off?
I'd say that's a real chat of history.
That is amazing. Like, you would have to get an entire room, like a big warehouse setup with tables and chairs and game boards.
It's like some movie shit.
That is serious planning, yeah. And money and timing and yeah. Like, would you record that? I guess you would, because it's so crazy.
Look, that's some things many teachers can't even get their classes to do.
Wow, yeah, that is amazing. That's something that you see a movie of, like Ocean's 11 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Extreme planning. I had this in the stash for a while. Might as well post it. Okay. All of Hollywood tremble at my name. Disney is weak. DC and Marvel are dead, and I wield the blade. We can win the Great War, but not in this time. Come with me. Victory awaits. I believe that is a reference from Kratos talking to Gaia at the end of number 2, I believe. I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Either 2 or 3.
I think 3.
Sentenced to 40 minutes of left-leaning white guy video essay commentary video. Thanks. I bring a sort of different type of Grand Wizard vibe to the D&D party that the DM don't really like.
Wizard. It's a Grand Wizard.
Oh, I didn't even see that, man. Oh, my eyes. Hassan Piker, Man of Steel. Steel? Oh, that's the thing that Mahler did. Synthetic Man, the grotesque, grifting goblin clown forever thirsting for attention. Oh, fantastic there, Mahler. No hatred whatsoever. No bias whatsoever.
That doesn't sound like projection at all.
Few too many adjectives there, sir. Maybe you're trying to tell us something.
It sounds like there's the poison is dripping from your. This is what real seething looks like.
Yeah, it's one thing to say Man of Steel. That's kind of clever, but that is too much.
Yeah, it's taking it a bit too far.
Yeah, and when we talk about Maggie, we don't give her weird titles. We say when she's crazy, and we all know it because we could hear it. We don't need to profess. Here's the crazy lady saying the crazy shit about Trump and this and that. We use comments for that. We talk about it. Sometimes we tweet about it, but she blocked me. I actually got blocked by Gray Delisle yesterday because she said she would never want a Republican to read to her. I think this was about the whole tranny strippers reading to children or something. And she's like, well, that's okay, but I don't want Republicans to read to my children. You're like, what? Whoa. Why?
These people have serious reality issues.
Yeah, and she blocked me. And all of her fans, well, not all of her fans, but many fans jumped to her defense, of course.
Yeah, fetishistic, sexualizing pedophiles that exposing your children to those people, leaving them in a room with them. That's fine, but a Republican, oh my God.
Yeah,
we live in a Monty Python sketch at this point.
She would hate to learn what public schools teachers are like, because I'm sure they're very diverse. Anyway, has anyone seen Mahler? Hold on, I got this. Ahem, The Last Jedi is a good movie. And then we have Mahler like the Kool-Aid man bursting out of the wall. Okay.
Yeah, and a game that has the same issues as that. He blindly praises and excuses.
See, that's what
that is the problem. That is the bloody problem.
That's what I would do. I would get his quote where he talks about Jake Skywalker, and then I'd get his quote where he talks about Kratos.
Mm-hmm.
And say, why do you have one standard for one but not the other? Anyway, I know awards mean nothing, but people don't seem to be complaining about this. How many awards did God of War get? Overall, God of War Ragnarok took home 6 awards, more than any other game. I assume that's the Game Awards from last year. It also picked up prizes in Best Narrative, really. Best Score, so orchestral score.
There was music?
It's generic orchestra, yeah. Nothing special.
I didn't notice any music in the game. Like, nothing stuck.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, but it's nothing...
I couldn't hum you a note.
There's strings, there's drums, the basic orchestra stuff, right?
Wow.
Best action adventure, okay. Best audio design, okay. And innovation and accessibility categories, that's fine.
That's such a laughable category.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, but it didn't. It's the one that didn't allow you to turn off the babble of the NPCs, which actually is that babble is a problem to people with ADHD because it's massively distracting, and even normal people get so annoyed by it they just want to punch something at some point.
So this is
it's not accessible.
If you guys don't know, Chuckles was in the chat today, in fact, but apparently he was promising that Allah is with Smud or something. I don't know what that means.
I think that was from the EFAP thing.
Yeah, that was definitely on the 30th. So
yeah.
Can't we all just get along?
And the Game Awards, they're basically just the Oscars, and they're just as corrupt and pointless.
Okay, I don't know what this is. JP, there once were Pokemon that married people. There once were Pokemon who married Pokemon. Sorry, there once were people who married Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And then ENG. There once were Pokemon that became very close to humans. There once were humans and Pokemon that ate together at the same table.
Very different.
Right.
Because the background is that people in the Pokemon world are actually also Pokemon.
I have seen designs that look like Pokemon.
They just evolved differently.
Yeah. I don't know the lore of Pokemon. I couldn't tell you, but I have seen Pokemon that look
Arceus just had weird ideas.
All right. Fair enough.
He wanted, and I guess he wanted to have
oh my god,
creatures that put him in a ball or something.
I caught a Pokemon, Batman. It's the Joker. Okay. And the next scene, Batman, there's no laws against the Pokemon, Batman. What? All right, whatever.
That's a little punny.
Joker caught...
It was in second generation, and I feel like that's... Was that second generation, or was that later?
All right, there's a video clip. I don't know what this is, but I'll just try it.
Batman, I caught a...
Okay, that's the same thing. I'm not going to play it, but it's the same joke. She cheated. I don't. Yeah, this is... Okay, yeah. Never mind. Dale Gribble has always known that Nancy was cheating on him with John Redcorn. He just didn't care. Oh, that's the same King of the Hill reference from before.
What does this have to do with the EFAP thing?
I couldn't tell you. Me to EFAP. Sign for this L, my... Okay. A lot of people didn't catch the L, but that's fine. We don't care. Copper Owl. Cope? Loffers?
I don't know what that word means.
EFAP Simps. Oh, okay, yeah. So Copper Owl is probably chatting with the sycophants in the chat. Reminder that Elden Ring was Game of the Year, so the normie argument does not really work for God of War's 6 awards. Well, everyone knows Elden Ring was going to win anyway, so. Yeah. Well, that was GameSpot, not necessarily the Game Awards, though. Oh dear, RP replay final, whatever.
Wow! You look nothing like your original designs!
Okay. Fair enough. Angry video game nerd fans, after realizing all of James Rolfe's films, will never compare it to Kick Assia, 2010. Okay.
Do I want to know?
I don't want to know. Yeah.
You don't want to know. It's okay. It's Doug Walker's first movie.
Yeah. Leminoker. They don't tell you this at Costco orientation, but turns out that the most insane sloppy head game on earth belongs to married soccer moms. The most insane sloppy head game. I don't know.
I am too late to understand what this means.
Why do you idolize a murderous authoritarian regime from the Second World War? I don't. Why do you? Do what? Ah. Yeah, well.
Lampshading.
Sent us to 40 minutes of left. Okay, we just did that one.
Yeah.
Money laundering? Okay.
Yes.
Hey, where are the white women at? Blazing Saddles. You Can't Win, a guide to modern film criticism. Can we please get some female representation in these movies? Of course. They make her ride on the back. Misogynist. Strong female characters don't need a man to back them up. Can we please get some black representation in these movies? Can we please get some trans representation in these movies? This is transphobic. And they could have kept going.
Pretty much, yeah.
How Red described the fourth wall in a nutshell. Here we are, January 7th. Don't touch. Don't touch. I don't know what she was getting at, man. I was so lost.
Completely lost.
Turning red asexual. What is this?
I think it's supposed to be a pun.
Yeah.
Oh, the Turning Red movie. Yeah, okay.
But Legacy, you need to work on your visual jokes.
Yeah, maybe use the actual character from the movie and put her face in that. Maybe would help. Quarantine time. Extrovert people, introvert people. Yeah, okay. I think the extroverts learn to be introverts, but that's okay.
No, they didn't. There were people who Canadian healthcare themselves after 2 days.
Oh. Which
I will never understand. Like I'm stuck in here for months because I'm sick and like, what the hell is wrong with you people?
All right, that was a rundown of all the memes. That was a lot more fun than what we just covered. So,
yeah.
Whew. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us react to Miss Red and her brain. I'm just going to say her brain because I don't know what the hell we were listening to. If you want to learn about
Noise.
She was womany.
Laugh noise.
Yeah, if you guys want to learn about lampshading, it's something you should never do. And if you do it, you should probably just go back and rewrite the problem that has to be lampshaded, clean it up, get your writing fixed out so it makes logical sense, and you should be fine. So it's one of those, it's basically putting a Band-Aid on a problem that's a lot larger than you think. So anyway, thanks guys. That was our Saturday. I'm going to have a great time just relaxing for the rest of the evening and putting my feet up and having a shot of something strong. So thank you so much. Have a great evening. Bye-bye. Talk to you soon.
Good night.
Bye.